Switch, and there were various other groups before that. I started in the kindergarten as an entertainer. Hey, lying to you, I didn't miss a beat either. I mean, every year it was more and more and more, and it was different stuff.
Hey, listen, I know you telling the truth, Greg, because I started in church and I was 2, and my part in the song with my sisters was he just hung and I said his head and died. So on Easter Sunday. So I know you telling the truth.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie about it.
Go ahead. Now tell us how you came up, how you found the guys, how you got this thing started.
Okay, well, actually, I was in a group White Heat with Bobby and Jody and a few others, and the group wound up moving to Akron, Ohio. You know, we were signed to Barry White. We were on RCA Records. We moved to Akron, Ohio, because that's where the guys were originally from. Ohio, Steubenville, Ohio, the Ohio area. So
all Ohio does is turn out funk.
That was going to be our base. We did shows and things like that. Toured with Graham Central Station and a few other people. But after years of being with Barry White, 2 years of being with Barry White on RCA, RCA dropped Barry's deal, so Barry dropped White Heat and took his name back.
Mm-hmm.
And the group broke up. And when the group broke up, I had been conceiving the idea of putting my own group together anyway.
Uh-huh.
So I had met Philip while I was there. I met Eddie through Philip. Mm-hmm. Tommy DeBarge was always somebody I was going to do in my own new group.
Uh-huh.
And there were a couple other members. There was a Reggie Manley and there was a Bruce Gillespie. These guys were out of Akron as well. But for various reasons, they didn't hang. And then there was another guy, Arnie Hayes, who was going to be my lead vocalist.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't hang.
Right.
Okay, Bruce's mom died. Anyway, the whole thing of Bruce couldn't be it, so then I had to get Jody for drums. Mm-hmm. Arnie refused to come when we got to deal with Motown.
Wow.
So I had to go back and get Bobby. And I loved Bobby, and I wanted Bobby to be a part, but Bobby had some things to resolve, and I knew that it would slow us down at that particular moment.
Right.
So I didn't invite him to join then, but once Arnie did not come, you know, we decided, me and the guys teamed up and decided to help Bobby resolve whatever his concerns were at the time. Mm-hmm. And we became a group. We came First Class. And when we found out somebody had the name First Class before we could sign with Motown, we had to come up with a name. So
come up with another name.
Now, I done cut around a whole bunch of corners, up under a couple of gullies, some other stuff, but
okay.
Pretty much.
What you said? Can we just have one damn name that we can keep?
That's right. But see, no, we got a bunch of names, but we kept switching them around. See that?
Okay, and then Switch. Switch was born. Hey, Greg, let me ask you, how did you get away from Motown and keep your name?
Oh, God.
Because, you know, it seems...
God, I was telling somebody that this afternoon.
Seems like if you go with them, you can't keep shit.
Everybody had to give their names to record companies.
Uh-huh.
Well, think about it now. I started telling you this story that Barry White dropped the group.
Right.
But took his name back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So without me knowing how to read contracts and understand things at the time, I did catch that caught my eye in that Motown contract that Motown will own the name. And I'm saying, hell no, you won't. So we created that name and we're going to own that name.
That's right.
And they said, hell no, you won't. You got to stick with this. You got to do this with us, our way.
Uh-huh.
Well, I talked with the fellas and I let them know that I got to stick with this now. They can't just take our name after this because we won't have nothing. We just went through that.
That's right.
Am I correct, Eddie?
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
Okay. So with that in mind, after doing that, we set up in that hotel where Motown was paying the bills. They were feeding us and they were paying the hotel bills.
While y'all holding out.
Huh?
While y'all were holding out.
While we were holding out, they paying the bills.
Okay.
But it didn't seem to matter because I had the tenacity or the insanity, whichever you choose at the moment, to say we're gonna stick to these guns.
Okay.
Finally, about 2-3 weeks later, they finally came back and says, okay, we ain't gonna fight with you about the name, but you got to give up all the publishing. Okay, that was bad too. Okay. I had them wear the bullets because I saw the gun, I just didn't see the bullets. Deal with it. That's what tried to happen.
You know, I don't know why. I mean, I asked that because I know Motown's reputation. And you are one of the very few people that could walk away with your name. You know, I saw Unsung. I love that show. And they showed the group, was it the Marvelettes?
Right. Yeah.
And there are like 4 groups of Marvelettes out there, and folks suing for this, for the name, and saying you can't.
They made a law because of the Marvelettes or something like that about the name.
That's right.
And surviving members and everything. And what is it if there's like not one?
If there's just one surviving member,
band, then you can't be called by that band name.
That's right. And thank God that somebody had the sense to fight for that. You know, that is the ultimate slap in the face, ain't it, Eddie?
Right, it really is.
If you create your name.
At the time they did that, there was like 4 or 5 Marvelettes out there that were touring.
Yeah.
And yet there were still surviving members out there, and they weren't getting anything. So
yeah.
So they fixed that in a hurry.
Yeah, you know, that is the most amazing thing. And in the music business, don't even go in there talking about heart. It's nothing about a heart. They want to take every freaking thing from you. They just like the damn Republicans.
Right.
They want to take everything from you, even your name. And you know, when you're young kids and you can remember promising yourselves that this is our name, you remember how you named the group. You know, I can't see anything more hurtful than someone taking your name.
Absolutely not. It's stealing your identity. It's taking your right arm. And you know something, for those that are listening, you got to think about how serious that was. And to give you an example of how serious that was, if I am not correct, they owned everybody's name. Motown did, but all the businesses basically owned name. Motown owned the Temptations name. Temptations had to give up all future royalties to get their name back. The Jackson 5 could no longer be the Jackson 5. And even greater than that, when you think about it, if you guys remember when Prince became the artist formerly known as, that was because Warner Brothers owned that name.
Yeah.
So pretty much everybody had given up ownership of their names to make these deals, and not totally out of ignorance, but because of the fact that it was such a major demand from the record companies.
Yeah.
And I'll share this with you guys, and then I'll get off of this one for a second. Berry Gordy had a philosophy that he stated, which was, we don't fatten frogs for snakes. And bottom line, what that meant, which was a general philosophy of record companies, we're not going to put all this money into you and build you so that someone else can come along and benefit from you. So taking all your publishing and owning the name and other things like that was their way of making sure that they had you for the time that they were supposed to pimp you to death.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's anyway, the word pimp.
I had to make that point.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did, because I know that the young artists that I promote, these young, unsigned, unsung, unappreciated artists who are really, really good and can't pay Ola and can't get on the FM stations. And so we're forced to listen to the same stuff every day. And for whatever reason, if Switch was bold enough to take their name, you might not get played on the FM stations, as much as somebody else like Luther Vandross. I love Luther Vandross, but it's all we get down here. We never hear the Supremes on an FM radio station. I grew up in Arkansas, which I was just 45 minutes from Memphis. So, we had Otis Redding, the Barcades, and all these great artists. And you never hear that on the radio. And I guess it's because somebody owns everything and they just rob the public. You can't hear it anymore unless you buy it and own it.
Right.
And it is very sad. And that's why I have the old school guys come on here and tell these young artists. But some of them are so excited to, man, we're being picked up by a label. But baby, y'all better read that contract. And I've always believed, Greg, it was not worth me selling my soul. Because I love my music so much, and there's no way they possibly worked harder than me to achieve what I achieved. There's no way that they went through what I went through. And I've just never been able to give up my name and things I've done. And I'm just...
The bottom line to that whole thing is this. Not only did they not work as hard as you, this is, you give your blood, sweat, tears, and soul to this. It's a job.
Yeah. And you
reality of it. And I remember Rick James standing on the desk at Motown telling people to kiss his ass, among other things, and telling them, y'all work for me. And the truth of the matter, he was absolutely right.
He was absolutely right.
Without our creativity, they'd be out of business.
Yeah.
Why do they get to treat us like we the red head stepchildren?
Yeah. I can just see him now. I'm Rick James, bitch.
Yeah, well.
And it is so true. And Greg, I've had people come to me from record labels and, oh, Brenda, you are the best thing you are. And if I'm all of that, then you know why I got to give up everything. You know, the only reason they came to you is because they realized your talent.
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
they just freaking want to break you. You know, now all of a sudden I own you. It's a modern day slavery.
Right.
And I would rather be sitting here in my bedroom in the studio doing this radio show than to ever sell my soul. I couldn't live with myself.
Right.
And I see why so many remember Phyllis Hyman and how damn good she was.
Absolutely.
And she was having to just give up everything. Of course, then it said later that they found out that she was bipolar and stuff. But man, look, if you ain't bipolar, the record business will drive you into it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why
a
they have
damn
shows
shame.
about gun songs and all that stuff to tell that story, to tell that part of the story.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you come across Keely? Yes. How did you come across this L.A. district attorney who can drop
Well,
these
ironically,
notes?
Achilles been a fan of Switch from day one, according to him. And a dear friend of mine had popped up after years, writer, arranger, producer. His name is Kenny Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenny had been working with Achilles. He's up in the Bay Area. He'd been working with Achilles. And Kenny popped up. I hadn't talked to him in a few years. And he said, Greg, after we got through catching up and laughing and joking, he said, Greg, I got a cat here. He's your number one fan. You got to talk to him. Well, okay. I'll talk to him. I talked to him, and he was telling me, man, I'm your number one fan. And if you can, you got to listen to my music. So I said, okay, I will, man. Send it to me. So Achilles sends me a CD. Now, I'm in school. I am trying to work on some music. I'm producing some things. My time is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
And I held on to Achilles' CD for about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I popped it in one morning on my way to school. It must have been between 7:30 and 8 o'clock that morning.
Mm-hmm.
I got halfway to school. I pulled the car over. I popped this tape in. I got halfway to school. I pulled the car over. And I called him right then and there. I said, man, what you doing this weekend?
Okay, let me tell you, Greg, the first time you sent me that video and introduced me to this, oh my God. I said, that boy got Bobby DeBarge and then some more.
And that is the very reason why I pulled over, because actually,
I'm sorry.
I said, now, there's no way that Bobby sung this stuff for this kid before he died. He didn't know this kid.
That's right.
But he sounds that much like Bobby where I had to pull over. And
yes, he did.
And he came down that weekend, and he's been with us ever since.
And Greg, you know, that is like finding a needle in a haystack. When you can replace the voice that everybody associates with your group. God forbid if something happens to your lead singer of your group that people identify, and all they got to do is just say a note and you know it's Switch. Your music and that lead vocal, that sound. And that was like finding a needle in a haystack. But this boy is bad, y'all.
And you know what? In fact, I want to ask Eddie a question real quick. Because we've never really addressed it. And I know how, at least I'm pretty clear on how you feel. But Eddie, how was everybody else impacted when Achilles came into the group?
I think everybody was blown away. And I mean, even on top of that, I mean, the fact that he could sing, the fact that, like you said, he pretty much channeled Bobby, and that he had never done anything live before. You know, his first actually live performance on stage was with us on the Tom Joyner show in Detroit.
Wow. And that show was hot. That show was hot.
School stage, not a local band stage, nothing.
And you know what else? You can tell everybody in the Dadgum group loves him on that video on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You're all in the studio and you guys start out, and then this guy steps to the mic, and it's just such a pleasing look on everybody's face. It's like, yeah. Right. It's just so nice. And I encourage y'all to go to YouTube and check out Switch, the today's Switch. And you're not, oh my God, you're not gonna miss nothing. You know, my son didn't really know you guys, and I played the video for him, and he was like, oh mom, baby, he soon bought that and downloaded it to his phone. He was like,
Okay.
loving himself some Switch. Oh, baby, this is what we grew up on. This is what we love. Now, let me ask you this. I told you.